Okay, recording has begun. All right, everyone. Welcome to the demo day on the 4th of December 2020. Yeah, we have one participant, the loyal, the great, the legend, Anu Shia. Hello, Anu. Thanks for joining us. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, so just a quick update on the week. Yeah, so we've been trying to reorient ourselves to get everything ready to work on Smoke Signal. We've also been marketing Smoke Signal a little bit, specifically a writing contest that we're hosting on Smoke Signal. Yeah, I've got a few very good ideas. Sorry, just put this on mute. Yeah, so there's a few very cool ideas that we have for Smoke Signal and making it cheaper and easier to use for end users. So I'm super excited about that. Yeah, and one of the things that we wanted to get ready before we move our focus over to Smoke Signal was the multi-bucket entry. So the more technical people among you might have already seen this contract. But essentially, it is it's a contract I wrote almost immediately after the sale started that trades any token on Kyber. But you can use any token on Kyber, and then you can essentially have that traded to die in the background and then enter multiple buckets. So you can specify a specific bucket to enter and then X amount of buckets forward from that. All right, so I'm going to quickly demo that. Our anonymous Elm developer has been doing some great stuff in this regard. Let me quickly share screen here. Sure, okay, so sell.foundrydao.com. All right, okay, so the first difference we will see here at the top is that there is now a standard and an advanced. So if we click on advanced, we basically see, like an augmented version of how the sale works. We see like how much we can bid. Make sure I'm connected to the right account here. Okay. So yeah, so I have 17 die that I can work with here. So I'm going to take 10 of those dies and I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm going to bid on the current bucket. So this will actually tell us like what the current bucket is. And if I'm not mistaken, there's some enforcement on that to actually prevent you from entering the wrong first bucket number. And then basically you'd say from that bucket, how many buckets into the future do you want to bid on? So for easy calculation, I think let's just say 10 buckets for now. Right, it still has the confirm you're not a US citizen. I am so terribly sorry for the US citizens out there. Well, that's not good. I'll quickly rephrase that. That's an error. Six. Okay, cool. I don't know what caused that error. Seems to have gone away now. Okay, so again, as I was saying, I'm terribly sorry for the US citizens. I really think that you should appoint yourself a Let's Onerous government so that the rest of the 95% of us people outside the US can interact with you without having so many terrible restrictions in place. Okay, so if I were to click this button now, what it would do is it would actually in the background enter me with my referral code into 10 buckets starting there. So before I do that though, I just want to give you guys an idea of how one might go about this. So if I go back to the standard one on the active bucket, you can actually see what the current price is. So I can see there's about $40 in this bucket, about $41 in that bucket, 40. Let me skip forward a bit until I see lower numbers. Oh wow, there's one with 90 in it. That's 184. Oh, this is new. Okay, well, this is good news. I don't know when that's happened. very happy about that. Let's just get forward a bit. Okay, someone has been entering. Okay, right. So I see here at bucket 120, I see that there's only like $1 in there. So this might have been or anonymous Dev doing some testing if I had to make a guess. So, okay, so if I'm going to bid 10 die from bucket 620 all the way through to let's say about 629 then. All right, so 620 there. I want to enter 10 buckets with 10 die at 1 die per bucket. Now I get to click all these wonderful disclaimers saying that I'm an adult and I adult frequently, right, and confirm that. Okay, so the first thing I just want to point out here, this is not going to be a cheap transaction, right? Because it is actually doing quite a few entries to what's called stake in Ethereum. The more buckets you enter, the more expensive this gets. But this is actually significantly cheaper than entering buckets manually, right? You could also, if you're very patient and you pick a bucket very far in the future, you could actually edit this and you could make it very, very slow. You can actually go to your advanced features and you can make that something like 20, even 15 at this stage would work. So that just warns you that that's extremely low gas.
Sorry, we can't see your MetaMask thing.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Just hold on. Let me quickly stop screen share and then I'll share the whole screen. Okay. Sorry. So where I was saying basically was after I click the confirm and deposit and die button, if I click on my MetaMask, over here. All right. So, all right. You guys see that now?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, cool. So as I was saying, this transaction, if you enter multiple buckets, is not going to be necessarily like the more bucket you enter, obviously the more expensive it is because we need to actually fill in those state changes on the Ethereum virtual machine. And that is pretty much the most expensive thing you can do at the moment. But what you could do is you could enter like a large amount of buckets, right? So let's say, for instance, you could enter like 100 buckets. And then what you could do, if you feel like a power user, you can go here to edit and advanced, and then you can set this to something very low, like for instance, 15 gas, right? So let's actually set that to 5. All right, it's having some difficulty estimating exactly how long that would take because the gas is so low. But if you do something like 15 or 10, you'll typically confirm with in about 3 or 4 days. So for the purposes of this video, I want to do this fast. So I'm rather going to, I'm rather going to spend some money essentially and do this now. So let's say, if, right, confirm. Right, and then we see over here that we have a mining transaction. All right, so this is telling us it should take between 1 and 2 minutes. This is where we would definitely, once we have an enormously large treasury and we can make very entertaining videos, then this is where the jazz band would start playing elevator music. We're wasting valuable advertising space right now. Coca-Cola, if you're watching this, the spot is for sale. You can reach all 53 R subscribers. As I understand it, you are currently setting up an Ethereum 2.0 validator node. While we wait for this transaction, why don't you share your experiences doing that with us?
It's been interesting. I'm actually trying to set it up on a Raspberry Pi and a Intel mini PC. A mini PC is proving to be actually a bit easier once I figured out how to boot up from a USB, which is not an easy feat. Raspberry Pis are giving me some issues. Not sure how to solve that yet. Yeah, it's I must say I've never flashed as many memory cards as I have in the past few days.
Okay, interesting. So what kind of Raspberry Pi are you using?
It's the Pi 4 8 gigabyte.
Okay, and what kind of a drive does it have?
The Pis have 512 gigabyte SSD that connects through USB 3.
And is it actually SSD?
Yeah, it's just say again. Sorry, your mic's a bit choppy. Eh?
Oh, sorry. I say, is it actually SSD speed? The USB 3, is that actually decent?
Yeah, it seems like it. I mean, it's pretty quick. So I've obviously read up quite a bit on it. There's actually two valuable sources of data. One is Ethereum on ARM. That's what I initially tried. Had some issues with that, but I'm having a similar issue now with DAppNode. DAppNode is far easier to get up and running, but both scenarios I'm running into an issue where the SSD goes into read-only mode for some reason. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's.
But is that like an operating system thing? Is it a Geth thing? Is it an Ethereum thing? What happens there?
It could be a user thing because I haven't worked in Linux for many moons. So it might just be something that I'm doing wrong. Yeah, so the difference between the mini PC and the Pi is that with the mini PC, you don't need to mount the hard drive because that you kind of install your OS on the same drive that you syncing Geth onto. So that's one less step on the mini PC. So on the Pi, you need to mount your additional external SSD where you want to store the blockchain data. And I suspect that's where the issue is coming in. First trial, I mounted a drive, it worked fine. And then Geth runs in a Docker container on DAppNode. And then it stopped working because it ran out of space on the memory card on the Pi because your OS runs on the memory card. Then I tried moving that Docker container to the drive, and that seems to be where the issue is. As soon as I move the Docker container to the drive, it doesn't want to start up, or starts up and then doesn't want to run properly. And yeah, so.
What is DAppNode?
DAppNode. Have you never heard of DAppNode?
Well, I've heard of it. What exactly that is.
Yeah, so DAppNode is basically a company. They've gone and they've customized an installation of Debian flavor of Linux, and they pre-install it on mini PCs. They have varying degrees of performance power that they provide, and then you can just purchase that pre-installed and plug it in and run your Ethereum node.
Oh wow! Okay, so they actually sell you like a pre. Is that where you bought your PC version?
No, actually, I considered that, but the time it will take from the UK to where I am will be significant. It'll be like two or 3 weeks, and then there's customs, and then there's additional taxes. So it was cheaper and quicker to just buy a mini PC locally and get their image downloaded and set that up. Yeah.
Okay.
Some challenges with the mini PC, just so you know up front, if you start with no OS loaded on it, it's tricky to get it to boot from USB.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. You're trying to boot it from a USB SSD drive.
No, it was just a normal USB stick, because it's the mini PC has an internal SSD, 1 terabyte.
Oh, okay. So you're trying to boot like the installer for DAppNode, for the DAppNode image from there. Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah. So they've got an ISO image that you flash onto a USB stick, and that obviously installs on your internal hard drive, and voila.
Okay. And Jesus, transactions really it's really staying in that 1 to 4 minute window of time. Okay, so what did I want to ask you about? And what are the costs of your Raspberry Pi and SSD?
The Raspberry Pi itself was about 1,500 ZAR, and the SSDs was 512. So that's I think about $900, 900 ZAR, and then the mini PC, excluding taxes, was just under 10,000 ZAR. That's including 16 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD. So your cost on the Pi is a lot lower, obviously, but the performance is obviously way different. And I think just the way you set it up it's easier on the mini PC.
Okay. All right. So we can swing back to that now. I'm curious about this. Okay. So if we look here now, basically we see that we have a. Let me just refresh this. We look here on Etherscan, we see that our transaction has now gone through, and you'll actually see that a whole bunch of transfers happened. So that's a transfer from this account to the multi-bucket entry, and then these are all transfers from the multi-bucket entry into the actual treasury. So that's the multi-bucket entry doing its business there. Okay, right. So now let's actually go look in the buckets. If I
click on the double arrows.
Yeah, that's true. The double arrows allow you to move faster. So at 220, where did we start? Yeah, we started at 220.
You started at 620, not 220.
Sorry, 620, not 220. 620. So all the twos on the screen are throwing me. All right. Okay. Cool. So we see here that my $1 was entered, and there I see $1 with the bonus calculated as well, which. Okay.
Skulk, your voice is really breaking up there. I don't know if your mic is.
That's just I'm going through puberty. That's the problem. So if we look here, and then we see like 629 is the 10th bucket, and I see the entry has been entered into 629, and if you go do that little, you'll see that there's like a 24-cent difference. That's my bonus from bucket 9 going into the next bucket.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, this is pretty cool. Dark in JD Elm developer tells me that there are some challenges with getting Ether up and running, and we would also prefer it if we could not only do Ether but do all the tokens that are possible in HybridsWap. Unfortunately, all other tokens might not end up being a priority, depending on how far we can get. But hopefully, if we're lucky and all the stuff works out well, then we can actually have the cell then run with the multi-bucket entry on pretty much any token that has liquidity on Kyber swap. And if once we've accomplished that, then I can actually just take a little bit of time, actually won't be all that hard, to write a similar contract for Uniswap, and we can just swap the Kyber one out for Uniswap. And then theoretically, people can join with almost any token as long as that token has Uniswap. Yeah, so pretty cool. If you guys are, if you guys are very long on Fry, as hopefully everyone who's listening to this will be, you can use this advanced feature to actually now enter a large amount of funds over a large amount of buckets and get a very, very good average price without having to go through the schlep of entering every bucket individually. I do want to say one thing. Like, I mean, we don't have a nice graph yet. Hanu, are you aware of a nice graph that we have? Isn't there one on?
Yeah, I put one together on.
What's that service called?
Dune Analytics.
Dune Analytics. Yeah, there we go. Dune Analytics / you have a link for me, maybe? I may have edited that one.
Sorry, I can't hear what you're saying.
Oh, sorry. I will speak louder. Hold on.
You need to buy a better mic.
Might be the mic in the computer is pretty good. Hold on. It might actually be the. Okay, though I'm using the good mic. Apologies then.
If you go to browse, not sure, it's top left here, dashboards. Search for dashboard. I think there's one called Fry.
Okay, so
wasn't created as that.
Let's have a quick look here, basically. So if you, okay, cool. So this is pretty cool. So if we have a die entered one here, we can actually see for the various buckets. There's a zoom. Oh, man.
There's a little zoom icon top right.
Top right.
But
well,
there should be a thing where you can actually expand it full screen, I think. Not sure.
Auto scale and access.
Doesn't seem like it. Okay.
All right, I'm just going to quickly, so I'm just going to cut off some of that data just so that we can have a look at this. So, all right, so on the x-axis here, we see the total amount of, basically of funds entered. On the x-axis, we see the buckets, and on the y-axis, we see the amount of DAI that's in that bucket. We actually see that we've had several, nice large spikes that actually account for something ridiculous like 80% of the funds that we've received so far. But I think over time, what's going to happen, especially as smoke signal gains traction and people become aware, hey, the Fry token does actually do something, and it's $60,000. It's a giveaway. It's a literal giveaway. I think what's going to start happening then, let me just zoom in here, is that we're going to see an increasing amount of DAI entered into the future here, which means that the arbitrage opportunities will become less and less from the secondary market to the sell. And at a certain point, I suspect when it hits the end, when people have essentially bid all the way up to the thing, it'll start to swell very significantly. That's what I think is going to happen. And I mean, this multi-bucket entry now makes it very easy for larger buyers to actually do exactly that. So I think this is this, and hopefully, if we get chance, the generalization where we can input any token prepares us very well for a massive bull market. Because if there's a massive bull market now, somebody figures out they can participate in the sell, or they can arbitrage the market against the sell. This is going to make it very easy for them to do that. So I am super duper happy with this development, and hopefully next week, as of next week, I want to commit, since I will not be doing that work, I don't want to commit on behalf of the people who will be doing that work. By next week, we should be able to show smoke signal.
Oh, Skulk, you'll have to repeat your last 3 sentences.
Okay, so I was saying, hopefully by end of next week, we can show smoke signal, the change to smoke signal where it's only necessary to burn ether and not to have to have dye as well, which is proving to be an additional barrier to entry to an already challenging paradigm of sharing social media. So yeah, so hopefully we can get that out next week, and then the week after that, hopefully we have some additional improvements to smoke signal UX. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of it for me from the demo side. Yeah, Hanu, I sort of just want to. Is there any questions from your side about multi-bucket entry thing, or something you think we should mention?
No, I've no thoughts at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's nice on the single bucket, you see how much you've bid. So I'm not sure what kind of stats we want to show on the multi bucket. Obviously,
I think something sensible we might be able to do. But again, I think it depends on how much capacity we have, given the importance of the smoke signal work. I think something cool that we could have is maybe the chart of how many buckets are we bidding on, and then the only stat here I think that might be relevant is just to do a calculation. Given that I enter a certain amount of dye into each bucket, how much fry do I get in total, and then just give the guy an estimate of, given that nobody else bids, this is your average dye, this is your average fry price. I think, yeah, those are the improvements probably in terms of stats. But I think advanced people will probably be able to go, okay, well, I can, they can probably do back of a handkerchief calculations for themselves on this.
Yep. Cool. Well, that's it. I need to run.
Cool. But just the last question. So basically, you said there was about, it sounds like about 2,100 South African rands for the Raspberry Pi and a tar drive, and it was about 10,000 rand. Did I remember correctly, for the mini PC version? Okay,
that's correct.
And how long do you think it'll take to synchronize? What's necessary to synchronize there?
Yeah, I can't check right now, but the mini PC syncs pretty well. It's just there's 2 things that sync. One is the blocks, and the other one's the other one. I can't recall the other one. That's the one that's the more difficult to sync. But I think what's hampering sync here is port forwarding that's not open on the corporate network that I'm on.
Okay.
That allows for more peers to connect and get a better sync rate. So that's something I'll look into. So just trying to find an image I created this morning, some stats.
The reason that I ask is there's a Bitcoin maximalist who basically keeps telling me, how much does it cost to validate your own node? I'm like, well, I can tell him how much it costs because I can calculate that myself, basically. But so I did say, well, let me go through the whole exercise end to end. But since you're going through the whole exercise end to end accidentally, yeah, this does solve the problem a little bit.
Yeah. So I mean, the easy setup is about 10,000 rand, and the more involved setup for let's say more hobbyist setup is about 1/5 of that.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well,
Yeah,
if you could just tell me how much data got consumed syncing the node and how long that took, and once the node is synced, how much data it actually consumes per day, and that'll give me a very good idea of the total costs of operating the thing.
Yeah. I'll see if there's some nice add-ons to the DApp node interface, some packages I can install that will give more stats. I haven't looked at that yet.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Cool, man.
Okay. Have a nice day. Cheers, everyone.
Yes.